You have almost certainly seen those seemingly unending mounds of stones that line the railway rails on at least one of your train journeys. If you ride trains frequently, you may have noticed that regardless of the country in which you are traveling, the form and texture of those stones are virtually always the same all throughout the globe. At first glance, they might look like typical pebbles, but if you ride trains frequently, you may have seen that they are almost always the same. Therefore, what may possibly be the reason for that? Why are the railroad lines on our planet lined with rocks that are not notable in any other way? Crushed stones are used to line train tracks, and this aggregate is known as track ballast. To be more precise, the track ballast creates the track bed, which railroad ties or sleepers then cover. The stones beneath, between, and around the railroad ties are tightly packed, which you may or may not have noticed. The width of the track ballast typically falls somewhere between 25 and 30 centimeters. However, this might vary based on a number of circumstances that are related to the geographic location of the railway track. The majority of the time, crushed boulders or stones are used as track ballast. However, under certain circumstances, less desirable options, such as burned clay, may be used as well. However, it is essential to be aware that simply throwing a number of rocks onto a railroad and considering the situation finished is not possible. As was indicated earlier, the stones that make up the track ballast each have a unique form, size, and feel to them. The top of the stones is not smooth, and their edges are all rough, but there is a perfectly good explanation for this. Because these rocks are able to interlock with one another, the formation will not move. If you were to replace them with rocks that were circular or smooth, they would slide over one another, which would reduce the stability of the track ballast. You can probably understand that this will lead to disastrous consequences. The steel and other metallic parts that make up railway tracks are vulnerable to rusting and corrosion due to their constant exposure to the elements, including the intense heat of the sun, rain, vegetation, and general wear and tear. Constant exposure to these elements increases the vulnerability of the steel and other metallic parts that make up railway tracks to rusting and corrosion. The major function of track ballast, which has been around for a very long time, is to provide protection for the actual railroad track. A variety of mechanisms accomplish this. Most importantly, it secures the sleepers in their positions. Every day, numerous freight and passenger trains travel along railway tracks. It is not surprising that those tracks constantly experience significant tension and pressure due to the large number of trains traveling along them. When heavy trains roll over the sleepers, the ballast in the track keeps them from moving either longitudinally or laterally. This keeps the track more stable. Hey there! Give that like button a little tap dance, and don't forget to give that subscribe button a loving squeeze. Let's spread the love and make those buttons feel appreciated. If there was no track ballast, the sleepers would be subject to the constant pressure of passing trains, which could cause them to collapse. Number 2. Load distribution. Trains are quite heavy and apply a significant amount of force to both the tracks and the sleepers. Because of the irregular nature of the stones that make up the track ballast, they are able to interlock with one another. The irregular stones in the track ballast interlock with each other, distributing the weight equally across the ballast and the sleepers and track. Number 3. Vibration dampening. The track ballast absorbs the vibrations caused by a moving train. The passengers on the train are given an increased level of comfort as a result of the stones and the track ballast, which both have a cushioning effect. If you want to put this theory to the test, the next time you ride a train, pay special attention to how you react when the train travels over a section of railway track that does not have track ballast. Drainage is the fourth element. It is essential to take precautions to prevent rain or water buildup on railroad tracks from leading to flooding. The use of track ballast is beneficial in this aspect as well. It prevents water from clogging up the sleepers or accumulating on or around them, which is a common problem. If it weren't for it, water would pool on the rails, which would accelerate the rusting of the metallic components of the tracks. Number 5. It keeps plants from growing around the train tracks. Vegetative growth can cause disaster for the stability of a railway track, despite the fact that we all appreciate seeing vast areas of land covered in plants, grass, and trees of various shades of green. It is essential that there be no growth of grass, weeds, or vegetation surrounding the rails. This is an incredibly critical safety precaution. The stones and the track ballast play a significant role in preventing the growth of vegetation on the train track, which would otherwise weaken its foundation and degrade with time. Noise dampening comes in at number 6. People who are not inside the train are able to attest to the fact that a moving train is rather noisy. Track ballast, made of crushed stones, provides a greater surface area compared to a flat plane, facilitating noise absorption. This makes the process of noise absorption much easier. It is easier to hear the sound of passing trains when they are traveling on rails that do not have track ballast. The factor 7 reduces the amount of heat expansion. Because of the heat, railroad tracks have a tendency to lengthen throughout the summer season. The use of track ballast serves to ensure the track's effectiveness and safety by reducing the amount of thermal expansion that would otherwise occur. Track ballast not only shields a railway track and its sleepers from the forces of nature and the strain of a running train, but it also contributes to the general comfort of passengers. Track ballast consists of small rocks, which contribute to the general comfort of passengers. Take a good look at those stones. Despite what you might think, the stones placed in the tracks are not impervious to disturbance by anyone or anything. However, if there is an excessive amount of dirt or mud on the ballast, that statement is not entirely accurate. It will have an effect on how well it works. It is possible for debris to gather between the stones, which will have a negative effect on the drainage ability of the area. Regular cleaning and maintenance of the ballast on a railway track, similar to the track itself, is necessary. At times, workers replace the stones with a fresh batch of crushed stones. In addition to it, there is machinery called ballast cleaners that specialized in cleaning rail ballast, which reduced the amount of physical labor that was required. It's incredible how such an apparently random bunch of stones provides the backbone of an industry that affects millions of people's lives all over the world. Thank you for watching the video.